Today's lesson is about heads in extreme perspective. It's hard to draw that. It's very, very hard because it's one of the hardest things about portraiture. It's easy to draw the body in perspectives because, foreshortening happens, so it becomes very easy to create the distinction between a foot that's really close up and the body that's far away. Because you've got this like long, a human body is just by nature long. It's just like long wise. It grows upward like a tree. So it's very easy to create the difference between the far part of the tree and the close part of the tree, just like that. And everything else just branches off. As long as you keep the spine and the legs in perspective, foreshortening, one foot is bigger than the shoulder width. Other ways to measure it. But you'll technically, it's very easy to attain that worm's eye view look. But when it comes to extreme perspectives in the face, it becomes very difficult because there isn't this amazing distance between the chin and the forehead as there is between the foot and the top of the head. So what happens is we don't know what to do with the features when we're doing heads in perspective. That's the biggest issue, is that features, we don't know where to place the features. Where do we put them? The next problem is stacking. Stacking is like a very, very important tool in depth. When you have one object in front of another object, and automatically, because this object, let's just remove the size difference without scale. This object is the same size as this object, so they're equal, and one is in front of the other, and the reason why it reads like one is in front of the other is because we've stacked them. This one's edges are not visible, overlapped by this one. So automatically this is foreground and this is background. This is a rule of depth because what's happening is that this object has moved along the z-axis. It's not one beside the other, and then we're saying, okay, well, this one's in front. Believe me, this one's in front. We aren't just depending on scale where this one's small and this one's big. This could just be a different size, but they're both on the same level. Problem with stacking is that we forget to move it along the z-axis and move it along the z-axis and hide it behind the object in the foreground. So this happens a lot with the nose. It happens discreetly with the lips and other areas, but the nose typically is what hides everything behind it. It is the most, from the side view, if we look at the nose, it is the object on the face that sticks out the furthest. It is the object with the highest altitude. It is also significantly wide. So if we're looking at the camera from here on an angle, the camera shining here, this whole eye is going to be hidden by this nose, and we forget to do that. We're always thinking like we're drawing front view. We always think, okay, since I know how to draw front view really, really good, I have to be able to know, like I'm sure I know how to draw a face in perspective. I just have to show the bottom parts of everything. That's wrong. The head becomes a landscape. It becomes one mountain in front of the other mountain, which is in front of the other mountain, and we forget to treat it like these objects have altitudes. So in major perspective, everyone write this down and repeat it back to me. Don't forget to stack objects against objects that have altitude. Don't forget to show the landscape. Don't forget to represent depth. So depth is represented by stacking. Everyone write that back to me. I love her sneaky head jewel. How is it sneaky? Where is it? What do you mean? Yeah, this is a beautiful painting. Don't say sadly. It's a beautiful painting. But it's just some very basic stuff that we need to think about. This is extreme perspective. This perspective is extreme. So we forget to stack, all right? So everyone write this down. I'm going to ask you guys to repeat it later. Another thing we forget are the horizontal lines on which the features sit. So we forget to put these into perspective as well. Look at these flat lines here. This is not how it works. This is not how the face looks. The face is cylindrical on the front and then cubic on the sides. So it's really complicated. I don't blame you, but the only time you really use the side view, these angles, these horizontal lines on straight angles is right around here on the side. Everything else though curves and then reaches a high point and a low point. So these lips here don't sit on a very straight line. They sit on very, very different angles. The nostrils kind of morph around a horizontal line. The corners of the eyes also do something very similar. And then, most importantly, we forget that when we're looking at the bottom of something, so we're looking at the bottom of the eyeball. So an eyeball in perspective, the lower eyelid is more visible than the upper eyelid. The upper eyelid becomes almost hidden because when we're looking at the eyeball from front view, everything is kind of, the upper eyelid is more than the lower eyelid. I'm sorry if you guys hear the birds. The birds are back. They start nesting near my boiler room. There's like a tiny little nest that they have that leads into the house. So I'm sorry if you hear like crazy chicklets or whatever they're called, baby birds. Yeah, so the upper part over here is more visible with front view. But when we're talking kind of like a worm's eye view or just she's looking down at us, this is more visible. So you do have that, but you still have too much down here. There's all of that, and there's the expression. Exactly what kind of expression is she in? Is she having that madness expression where we have a lot of the upper eyelid whites coming through, or is she supposed to be seductive? What's the expression exactly? I'm gonna go with seductive, kind of doing some sort of queen-like thing, um, empowerment or whatever, and work from there. All right, so let's get started. Whoopsie, liquefy. So the first thing that I'm going to do is the nose. I'm going to take care of the nose first. So I'm going to move the nose. It's okay if this eye gets distorted because what I'm going to do is just I'm going to copy paste this nose on the previous layer. So don't worry about this eye. So the thing I'm going to start with first is the nose. I want to make sure I have that stacking that I was referring to. Also, it's going to sound really weird, but you don't have to draw a Michael Jackson nose every time you're looking. I'm so sorry, Michael Jackson. Dude, you just did too many surgeries on your nose. You've become a kind of a mockery. But anyways, you don't have to draw sort of an exaggerated kind of nostril. You guys kind of over define them. You make them look more triangular. A nose is a very rounded thing. Even with people who have very, very slender noses, there's always a rounded aspect. So try to make sure you get that instead of always trying to over exaggerate what's happening with the nose. So I'm enlarging it. It's okay. I'm going to shrink it eventually just so that my brush works better. I'm getting rid of that sort of triangular kind of look in the nostrils. The nostrils, if you look up at them from worm's eye view, they become very circular. So this kind of triangular nostril that you were doing is a little bit excessive. It's kind of looking like a caricature of the nose or a surgically enhanced nose. Brush density, so I shrunk that. Alright, so I'm going to copy paste this nose over what was around. So do you guys know what I mean with the Michael Jackson nose? It's just, it's too unreal. It has unrealistic dimensions to it. It's too triangular. It's too slender. A human nose doesn't do that. It's got lots of rounded edges and less of that geometricness to it. So this is the previous nose. You shrunk it on purpose. Do you see how it was indented? It was really indented. It was like you were forcing this nose. Oopsie. You were forcing this nose in just so that you could fit this eye in. This is wrong. The reason why it's wrong is because, again, don't think like you have to think of the human face like a landscape. Everybody write that back to me. The human face is a landscape when it's in extreme perspectives because the nose is always going to stack in front of something. When we're looking at the face from head down, from the top down, sorry. The cheekbones are usually hiding the chin. The nose is usually hiding something else. The brows are usually hiding the eyeballs. So it's like a closest object, then the second closest, third closest, and then all the way into the distance. So it looks like mountains in a landscape. That's what I mean. So a head is a landscape. A human head, a human face is a landscape. Don't forget to stack. Alright? Everyone write that back to me. Before I continue, I want to know everyone's on the same page. Stop trying to fit all of the pieces beside each other. You know, the nose is here. I'm going to give it perspective. This counts. This is all I need. No, it's not true. You can't just put everything beside each other all the time. Sometimes things hide other things. This eyeball can be very, just completely missing. and then we see the bottom, and then we're kind of just seeing the bottom of this face because this nose has hidden this eyeball behind it. Sometimes it's just not visible, so let go. Let go, don't always try to force it in. So this, you see how now that makes so much sense because now we've hidden part of that eye beneath the nose. Look at how proportionate everything looks now. Everything else is just minor. All the other corrections I'm going to be making are minor. Take a look at that. Look at the changes. The nose isn't abruptly shrunken just so that the other eye is visible. I think you guys have eye worship. You think everything has to surround the eyes. I mean, the eyes are a beautiful source of information and focal point in a drawing, but they're not the only thing. When we're in a perspective, we have other priorities. So beautiful job on the subsurface scattering, though. It's beautiful. But please remember, you don't always have to do this to the eyes, to the nose and the eyes. All right. So is everyone saying it? It is a very tricky angle. It is, but please don't, just thinking about stuff like saying something like the human head is a landscape. That stuff helps you remember like everything. So it's not always so difficult remembering to do this stuff. It's not, just give it a narrative, it's like a cheat sheet for you guys. Um, and you'll remember everything. What I'm going to do next is, I hope Liquify doesn't distort the pupils too much, but I'm going to shrink down that upper eyelid. Because if I paint it in, that's going to take too much time. So I'm trying to shrink down the upper eyelids. And I'm going to keep reinforcing that so beautiful, I'm Cleopatra kind of expression. And I'm not sure what she's doing exactly with her eyes. Maybe she's looking down at everyone. I'm not sure. Alright, so another thing that you noticed is that, actually before I go on to the lips, please remind me that I was just about to go on to the lips because I will forget. I wanted to talk about my recent video with you guys. Everyone has been going crazy about it. And people have been sending all this hate messages to me because I've been telling them stop doing masterpieces. And I did write a comment kind of addressing everyone's sympathies, I guess, against me, I guess. But I just want to say it here as well. When I say things like when I critique, I never ridicule you guys. I'm coming at you guys with like a mockery or something. I never mock your work. If it comes off as that, I don't know how you managed to get to that, but I never mock your work, number one. Number two, when I give you guys critiques, and I say things like don't do masterpieces, it's only because I'm trying to promote a general air of, let's do studies, let's do as much homework. I'm always trying to promote you guys doing the real work, because between you today and the you tomorrow, 365 days from now, is a bunch of work. That's what's between you and the person you want to be as an artist. So whenever I say things like don't do masterpieces, do studies, do a 14-day challenge, that's not me trying to hinder your creative force. You really have to earn the title of artist. You really have to earn it. Just because you draw one picture in one day does not mean that you have mastered that subject. A masterpiece is a study, not a study. It's a piece that you create to reflect your mastery, to reflect what you've developed so far. So if you haven't developed or mastered something, how are you drawing masterpieces? I'm sorry, I'm yelling. How can you think you're worthy enough to draw a masterpiece if you haven't mastered the topic yet? At least topically. At least just know that the eye has two lids, you know? So, don't get on my ass when I tell you guys the truth, because I really do tell it like it is. I really don't bullshit. And I make a point of that because it's just, there's not enough time in the world for us to bullshit. We're running out of time every single day. So I don't have time to bullshit and compliment you guys and sit there and give you guys compliment sandwiches with and like compliment, critique, compliment. I don't have time for that. I'm just gonna give you the lesson, and then you do with that what you will. And at the end of the day, I'm doing this for the student out there that is alone, the student out there that has nobody to ask, yo, does this look okay? And everyone in their life is gonna say, yeah, that looks great, man. Yeah, man, that looks great. And they know they're not really getting the critique they need. I'm doing it for that person. I'm not doing it for those whiny babies who like weave their identity in every single drawing they do, that if anyone touches their drawings or says, yo, this looks a little bit off, they begin to hate you, like you become their arch nemesis. People are so attached to their work nowadays. You have to learn how to kill your baby. I'm sorry. In art, you really gotta learn. You gotta just draw it, rip it up, and draw it again if you want to get better. That's the key. The people who complained about my video on masterpieces are people who will never improve. I'm so sorry, because these people don't know how to let someone shred their work. You have to be able to let someone shred your work, because it shows you all the mistakes. You're not going to find them out yourself. If you do, you're going to find them out 10 years from now. By then, it's too late. Everyone else is way ahead of you. Do you want to be that person? Obviously not. So be available. Be available for critique, because that means that you're giving the 5 years from now version of you a lot. You're giving them a lot. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to end it with this. Imagine, everyone close your eyes, imagine you're 5 years from now. All right? You're looking back, and you wish you could go back in time and talk to yourself 5 years ago and tell them, dude, please do some studies, because I'm here right now and I still suck. I'm here right now and I still draw really bad. My eyes still, I just don't know what's wrong with them. The way I draw eyes is still just, it's not giving me enough. It's not what I see. I'm having trouble drawing what's in my mind. I'm still having trouble creating my vision. So please, 5 years ago me, do some studies, because I'm really going to benefit from it. You opened up your eyes again, and here you are 5 years ago. You're already back in time. So do it. Do the studies. Don't let that 5 years from now version of you regret all that wasted time. All that wasted time you spent coveting your work, pretending you're a master. You cannot lazily avoid all the work required of you to be the master. The difference between the master and the student is that the master has made more mistakes. How can you expect yourself to make mistakes if you're not in the sandbox making some mistakes? You guys have to get your studies going. Grayscale those images. Perfect your edge work. Perfect your line art. Perfect your cast shadows. Perfect all the real functionality and science in what it means to draw. Perfect your perspective, and then go and apply all of that and give birth to your beautiful masterpiece. But until then, please don't do masterpieces. I'm going to stick to this for the rest of my life. If it bothers some of you, there's other places to be. There's other people to talk to who will make you and compliment you, make you feel good about yourself all fuzzy inside, and compliment you and tell you what you want to hear. But me, if you know me, you know I'm not going to bullshit, and I'm not going to lie to you and tell you your work is amazing. I'm going to tell you the problems that'll make it amazing. If you fix them, they'll make it amazing. All right? Okay. So I kind of just set up the eyes. I lowered the perspective. I made the eyes a little bit less space up here in the eyelids. And now I'm just going to match the nose back, because I've changed the eyes. So I'm going to fix up the nose, lowering it just. I'm sorry I'm not looking at the comments. I will look in a second. And then now we have to fix a big issue. In the perspective, what you did is that you enlarged the lips. You enlarged the lips because you thought there was like amount of foreshortening there, right? Is that why you did it? There's a lag, you're not going to be able to answer in time. But I think that's why you did it, because of the perspective. So what's going to happen is you're going to introduce ogre values. You're going to introduce the ogre in this. And the ogre is very, very dangerous and very tricky. You have to learn how to avoid them right away, especially if you're drawing women. So avoid the ogre, shrink the lips. The lips, there isn't enough distance between the mouth and the eyes for us to have foreshortening if we're this far away from the face. When foreshortening happens is if it's the camera is right here under the chin. So I'm just shrinking these lips, I'm just eyeballing generally. So there's not much foreshortening in head perspective, unless the camera is like right there on the forehead or on the cheek, or like just really close up to the face, unless the camera is touching the face. If the camera is this far away, there is no foreshortening. Also, this now that we've sort of gravitated everything back, this chin line is way too low. This cheekbone will be a little bit higher. Okay. So some people have, from those videos, some people commented. I had to delete them. I'm sorry. They really, they bugged me. Some people said I was pretentious. Some people said I was vain. Some people said I was a bitch. Some people said, the rudest shit to me just because I'm telling them don't do some masterpieces. And you know what? That advice hurts. That's because I know it's working, because it's hurting some people. It's the advice no one else is telling you guys. It's the advice some of you don't know how to take because no one's ever said it to you. So trust me, that advice will help you. It helped me. I used to just every year I used to try 3 masterpieces. I would improve, but I would improve so slowly. And all of these mistakes, I've made them before you. That's what's given me the experience. So I've been there and I've made these mistakes, and that's why I'm telling you guys to avoid them. So I'm just trying to do one last thing with the head shape. This whole side of the head gets compression. So one thing that does happen in 3/4 view, so this is both a worm's eye view and a 3/4 view at the same time, and that's why this was so complicated for you. So do you see how big it was before? And then now, again, just got to fit the nose back in. And then make it match those horizontal lines. And then you'll see in a second everything will just fall into place. But we've got to compress some of this eye, not compress, hide some of this eye in the distance, or else it'll always look like this person is, has a really tiny, unusually small nose, if we can see this much of their nose. Alright, so another issue here is this right here. I think we need to see a little bit more of the side view. I'm sorry, let me just see. Foreshortening, not in my swamp. I'm sorry. I'm trying to see the comments. I chose this group especially for this reason. No bullshitting, just get to the point and work on it. Yeah, I want to do the lips next. Thank you, Free for Fire. What wonderful things did you write? Yeah, I got hate mail, Jeffrey. I got lots of hate mail. Just tons. As a beginner, I appreciate hearing "Don't do a masterpiece." It helped me take things a step at a time and be patient with myself. Still learning, always learning, and that's all right. And academia, you're going to learn faster if you're doing like studies that are specific to one topic, because you're going to focus all your current energy on that one eye. You're going to improve in like a week. So, it's don't wait for your next masterpiece to improve on an eye. The no masterpieces thing is helping me a lot. I used to be in a class where we were expected to crank out 1 or 2 masterpieces every week, and it hindered my improvement badly for a whole year. That's so bad. A whole year, Alyssa. Like, you can't get that back. That's the problem. It's like you have to run. You're always running because time is going to pass by. You're going to turn 30 soon, and you're not going to be where you want to be. That's something I'm constantly afraid of. Is that person in the future, that future version of me is going to be mad at me, is going to be disappointed in me. That's what pushes my perfectionism, honestly. DA is awful. Everyone wants to be an illustrator, and you can see that. Yep. People just constantly post sketches instead of complete pieces. It's true. And they forget to, use those sketches as a chance to learn. So even then, even at the sketch level, they're refusing to approach it somehow, at least as a study or study mentality. So I'm going to lower this. I'm going to this thingy right here. I'm going to just shrink it, and I'll show you the before and after real quick. Oh, oopsie. Should have made a new layer. Alright, so oops. Throw the shadow here. But yeah, all that hate mail was really unnecessary. You guys don't have to retaliate. I'm not attacking your identity. I'm not telling you to, not be bronies or whatever it is, those people were. I don't care what your identity is. I have no business there. It's not my business. My business is just to offer some lessons online for people who don't have the money to find them and pursue them, because they don't have that financial resource or whatever. I'm just there giving that to people, and these lessons are long. They take up my time, they take up your time, so I'm not here to hurt you. Trust me when I say that. So for you guys to retaliate to such a level and insult me so personally. I mean, you can't but take it personally when someone calls you vain. They're like, you made all those changes and those critiques because you're vain. That's like a real jab. It's like, I'm not vain. I'm really not. I mean, art is a vain practice. We're studying, pretty much how to please vanities. But I'm not a vain. I don't like to think. I like to think I'm not a vain person, and I'm just offering different, scientifically kind of accurate ways to render stuff or change the way that looks. It's just so that I could promote realism a little bit so that you guys can benefit from it. So this all here, I haven't changed the topic of your drawing. I've just added some science to it. Some like core sciences that might help. So before, after. Do you see how you were both confused between the 3/4 view? You had front view eyes, you had side view nose, you had side view nose, like 3/4 view nose, and bottom, like looking from the bottom to the top. So worm's eye. And then the lips were interrupting that whole ogre thing, and the whole lower half of her face was enlarged because you thought there was foreshortening. Everyone write this back to me. There is no foreshortening in heads in perspective unless the camera is attached to the face. Unless the camera has touched the face, there is no foreshortening. Please do not forget to stack. Please do not forget to compress the eye, so this eye is a little bit less wide than this one. And don't forget about the altitudes on the face. And all of it will fall into place, I promise. So this eye, this inner part of the eye here has now been hidden. I can't hide it anymore because she does have a very, very slender face. So I'm trying not to remove the femininity. I have to keep the nose a little bit thin. Not thin, like short. But don't forget about the horizontal lines and the way everything sits on the horizontal. So these two are higher than these two outer corners. So you see this corner is higher than this corner. Alright, what's everyone saying? There is no foreshortening in the face unless the camera is attached to the face. Yes, there is no foreshortening. No foreshortening equals MC squared. It's crazy. Istebrak is vain in the best possible way. I used to fall in love with my sketches when I felt like I improved. Yeah. Fuck yeah, science. I'd like to think the majority of the people who catch the lessons live aren't the ones who sent you the hate mail. Yeah, they aren't, Brony. I'm sure they aren't. Or Bronny, I'm so sorry I called you Brony. I don't know if you're even a Brony. I'm sorry I made that comment about Bronies earlier. Bronies are the best. I'm so sorry. Oh, God. Post discussions constantly serve no purpose. Yes. How dare you have opinions on the internet? But yes. What do you mean? What happened to your sound? It's still working for me. Okay. Must comply. Can't resist. Resistance futile. Hey guys, I was thinking about doing more masterpieces. What do you think? So there are still some issues with this because Liquify only allows me to go in so much. So, like some issues, some other things I would change. Let me see if I could change them real quick, just for the sake of the before and after. Is the placement of this. See, that's Liquify is so mean. Like it knows we need it, so it's like temperamental. Diva ass. Alright, so what the other things I would do is I would try to give the eyeballs a little bit of a curve, because remember that skin of the eyelid sits on the eyeball like a belt. Right here. There we go. See, damn it, I should have zoomed out. Okay. Don't want her to be squinting. And then we've got the shadow of the upper eyelid, so please don't forget the shadow. You guys, even if it's not in your reference, add it. Trust me, it's a foolproof way to make the eyes look better and make the eyes look more realistic. Even if it's not in your reference, add that shadow. I know it's in your reference, you just don't see it. But you need the shadow there. Why am I using this goddamn brush? Okay. Another one of the hate pieces, one of the things that people said was, I'm doing this all for money. I'm doing this for my own notoriety or whatever. I make zero money from this. Do you guys think I'm like swimming in it or something? I'm really not. Like I drive a busted up old car. Not busted up. I mean, it's not in bad condition. I take good care of it. But I drive a car that's not 2016 model like everybody else, alright? So I'm not some sort of like 50-year-old baby boomer generation with like $500,000 in savings. I'm as old as you guys are. I'm not some sort of money maker or something. I'm not money maker Mike. I'm just like you guys. So there is no financial gap or some sort of class gap between me and you guys that you think my my false sense of authority sources from. I am you. I'm you guys. I'm from you guys. And honestly, I'm just gonna be honest. I started off not in the first world. I grew up in the third world, where a pencil was a luxury. So I'm trust me when I tell you, I know what it feels like when you have zero resources, and you have all the passion to draw and zero help from everyone else. Growing up in my family, it was a family of 6 kids. Nobody drew but me, and no one gave a shit that I drew. Like no one knew. Like my parents were so occupied with like other jobs my siblings would go into. Art wasn't really that thing. So you have your parents to fight, you have all these people to fight in order to become an artist. So I know that fight. I know it very well. And I did take college other than art, and I just waste of time, and that's why I'm telling you guys, stop it with the art schools. Try to practice at home, see what you can do at home. Masterpieces, I did that. So everything I'm saying to you guys, I've done it. I've made those mistakes myself. Sorry, I'm just trying to bring in a cast shadow because I really feel like, because this light right here is so strong, I feel like there should be a cast shadow right along here. And the top of the nose, just along there, is also going to get some light. And that's it. I think that this is done. A little bit on the chin, actually. Oh yeah, this whole area is too edged out. This is too strong. When we're looking up, when the chin is looking up and we're looking up at it, we kind of don't really see that edge anymore. We see an edge, but we see a little bit of a blended version because the skin has stretched across. So sometimes you see the edge depending on where the light is. If the light was shining on like this edge right here, we will see that bone stretched out under the skin. Or the skin stretched out over the bone. But over here, the light is kind of casting all of this. And write this back at me. Where there is no light, there is no detail. So this whole area becomes kind of just blended together. Right? I remember in the refugee camps in Saudi Arabia, because I grew up, I was born 1990, so kind of a little biography for me. I don't know why I'm adding it. I just feel like I should tell you guys. We were in the refugee camps in Saudi Arabia because our whole city south of Iraq was being bombed by Saddam, because it was mostly populated by Shiites, which is what we were. So we had to flee, and Saudi Arabia opened its arms. It was a great king back then. His name was Fahd. He was great. I think they're all named Fahd nowadays, but he was one of the more merciful ones, I guess. So we got out, and I remember growing up, like 5 years old, the kids would use crayons. What I used was the sand, yo. I was sitting there in the sand dunes, and we were in tents for like 5 years, and I would just draw on the sand. That's where we went to draw. There was like this really smooth sand area, and the neighbor girl, like in the adjacent tent, she and I used to draw together. The first time I saw a pencil, I was so fucking amazed. I'm like, what is that thing? And I was like, that thing is made just, I used to remember thinking, that thing is made just for drawing. Like, that's just, yeah, there was no school, there were no preschools or whatever. You were lucky if if your mom got diapers for your siblings. Like, it was so bad. We eventually immigrated to Canada, though, so it was all good and everything changed. And, we grew up and, we had Christmases and whatever. Canada's just fucking amazing. And just to think today, nowadays, Canada is doing the same thing for those Syrian refugees. It just welcomed a bunch of them. That's exactly where I was 26 years ago. But yeah, I'm not some sort of, I know what it means. Like, I came from the bottom, so I know what it means when you guys don't have much. So I'm not there trying to hurt you guys. That's the biggest thing I want to get out there, which is why I waited for the session to do it. Alright, so casted those shadows, and then over here. So see, it's not so much that she's squinting anymore, it's that we're looking at the bottom of her eyeballs. There might be some more surface scattering. I think the surface scattering color that you chose is a little warm. What you need to do is cool that down. So when we want to cool down an orange color, what we do is we just move down to the reds, get a color correction layer. Damn, you give a new definition of ghetto, girl. Sand drawings. Yo. I know. See that redness you have? It's so nice and purple. You need to keep that everywhere else. Yeah. But all the kids, all the toddlers, all of the little kids, we're all supposed to be in preschool, but we were in like a desert. It's just like desert, man. Have you ever seen dunes? That's where we were. I think eventually the U.S. Soldiers eventually brought us like pencils and weird little toys that teach you English and stuff. That was around like the fifth year we stayed there when I was 5. And then we finally just immigrated. Or I think we were immigrant refugees or whatever that was called. I'm getting rid of that dark spot that you had there. So before, after. Before, after. Alright, so I'm going to filter, sharpen, unsharp mask. So yeah. All the changes here weren't pretentious, vain changes. It was all changes that are center around the basic sciences. How a face is a landscape and on a skeletal level. We have to remember to preserve all the major angles first and then kind of just get creative. We have to set up the landscape, the basic bone structure of everything. All right. So this one, you're showing too much of the nose. We're really not in that kind of perspective right now. We're in a very, very modest kind of angle. So we're seeing very, very little of the lower part of her neck. And this is pretty much rule number, the next rule. White background, don't do it, but it's stylistic, so I can't really say anything. The head sits on a cube. So let me show you some beautiful thing that I've collected. I have this like file folder that helps me teach. This is pretty much one of the things. I don't know where I found this. I have no idea where I found this, but look at this. This is all perspective drawings, 3-point perspective, 1-point perspective. These help you understand these. These are heads and extreme perspectives. And look at this one specifically. Do you see how the most basic polygon structure, the most common denominator of a head shape in extreme perspectives is a cube? So you're seeing the top of the head or the bottom of the head. Ask yourself, am I seeing the top of the cube or the bottom of the cube? Because that determining what part of the cube you're looking at and in what extremity lets you decide how much of the nose you're seeing. So, there's that, and that's really going to help you. It's just thinking about, is this a lot? Is this really visible? Am I seeing the majority of the bottom of the nose, chin? Because if that's so, I'm seeing the bottom of the cube everywhere else. Because imagine a big cube and minor cubes sitting on it, tiny little attached cubes. The nose, if this side is visible, this side is visible. All right, so everyone write that back to me. The head in its core structure is a cube, and if you draw that in perspective, everything else follows the head. All right, so that cube guides the head in extreme perspectives. The cube guides the head in extreme perspectives. How many hours do I draw daily? A lot, including private sessions and public sessions, which I'm also always drawing and painting over other people's drawings. I think around like 3 or 4 hours a day, 5 hours. But yeah, Esther, you're so old. Yeah, I'm 25 turning 26 actually. I'm not 26 yet. I'm 26 in June. Um, oh, hi, Lath. Lath, not Lath. Yeah, oh, that's cool. You're from Saudi Arabia too. Awesome. Well, I'm from Iraq, but I immigrated to Saudi Arabia, or refugee to Saudi Arabia. Yeah, I'm 25. Level 1 to see. Yeah, the U.S. stance on immigration is crazy. I don't know if she's meant to be Cleopatra. If so, her skin is about 3 shades too light. Yeah, if you want to change that as well, you can. No, Canada isn't the thing with the kangaroos. Yeah, I'm proud to be Canadian, man. And she said she didn't like Drake. Drake is not ghetto. Drake may act ghetto. Drake suddenly started getting this ghetto accent or this like southern accent out of nowhere. He talks like you and me, just like normally, but then suddenly he just, like, whoa, dude, what happened? Where'd you get that mask? Okay, Majora's Mask. So the next thing, again, is the same thing with the upper eyelids. You want to show more of the lower eyelid than the upper eyelid. Again, this is not that extreme a perspective, so it doesn't really matter at this angle. But all we're doing is balancing. Remember, those horizontal lines are curved in an extreme angle. Take a look at this again. These extreme angles are curved. So you see this? This is a curve right here. It's a straight line on the cube, but it's not a straight line on the head because the head is like a carved cube. It still has cube components because it's a three-dimensional object. But it's straight looking on. If you're looking at a face straight on, this is a straight line. But an extreme perspective is looking up, looking down. It's a curve. It's a C shape. So that's how we fit. That's how we know where to put the corners. Okay. So her expression is kind of like contemplative. I hope my crush is looking at me kind of face. Her cheekbones, her chin. Alright, so let's take a look at the before and after in a second. Just gonna let this go down. Alright, before, after. And let's do one big before and after. Before, after. Do you see how you were kind of forcing? It's as if her nose by nature is looking up. It's an upturned nose. So, that's not how it works. And you have to remember, are we seeing a lot of the lower chin? So everyone write this back to me. What is it about the lower chin that's so important? I'm not going to repeat it. I'm going to wait till you guys give it to me. So what is it about the lower chin that helps us draw the nose? What did I say earlier about that? Pinky's almost as long as the ring finger. Yeah, that's true. That's a bit long. Drake is mortal dragon in Dark Souls. I'm actually serious. Who's Drake? the guy in a wheelchair from Degrassi, I think. An extra joint at the end. No, the joints are the same. It just should be smaller in length. Before nose job gone wrong. No, it's just the tip of the nose. Some people's natural noses look like that. If the bottom of the nose is seen, then the bottom of the chin is seen. Exactly. And when we say bottom, we're really thinking like the bottom. We're thinking like the butt of the nose. Okay, so if the butt of the chin is visible, then the butt of the nose is also visible. So we're talking very, very similar angles. If this chin is visible like that, then the nose is also visible in a very, very, very subtle angle. Just imagine it as lasers. If this laser is pointing down this way or this way, the nose does the same thing, depending on the kind of nose we're talking about. Alright, so remember the butt. Alright, before, after. I might have changed her face just a little bit. Her face before was a little bit more, that really strong bone structure, kind of Russian beauty, Russian model kind of face. But after I kind of just curved it off a little bit. But yeah, definitely remember the nose tip. The nose and the chin kind of fact really helped me. Yeah. And the nose itself, please remember this about the nose. The nose is like a cube as well. Alright, so it's got sides to it, and when we want to place highlights, we don't always just remember back to our lines. This is where the nose line was, so instead of drawing a line, I'm going to trick Istebrak and draw a highlight instead. No, you're still drawing a line. So over here, if the light is coming from above, this whole upper part of her nose is going to be visible. And look what that did to the nose. Look what that did to the face. It really made it better. Of course, it's not going to be this extreme an edge. You want to just blend it away. You want to sort of blend the edges just a little bit. They don't have to be that extreme, but As long as we're seeing the top part of her head. So you see how awesome the cube is? You guys make jokes out of it and say, you know, the cube, praise the cube, because I talk about it a lot. But seriously, the cube will change the way you draw. It really will. Alright? So remember this edge right here. The nose isn't just some sort of like, it's not triangular. If we looked up at the nose from the bottom, it doesn't do this and then there are the nostrils. We're not the Grinch. What the nose does is this. Right, so remember this top bit right here. Of course, it's not always going to have these angles. It's going to be curved, but it has a top side to it, you know. You can grow a little house on this top of the mountain. It's not some sort of high peak that's on an edge. Grow a house. You can build a house. Alright, so before, after. You see what you did with the nose here? Don't be afraid, you guys. Draw faces. Stop drawing edges. Draw faces. No, edges like... No, Istebrak, you should be telling them to draw edges. No. Stop drawing tips. Stop drawing peaks. No, they need to draw peaks. Damn it, what's the word for this? Stop drawing sharp. No. Oh, fuck, I don't know the word for it. Just stop doing what this person did. Okay, same thing with this one. I think for this one is you forgot to sort of, so you've kind of forced the nose side to be visible. So remember that the nose is a cube. Right, but what you've done is instead of doing the nose like this, you've done the nose like this. So we're kind of just forced to see this part of the top of the cube. The nose cube, the top part, does the same angle lean in perspective as everything else. So over here, what your nose has done is this instead of this. So the way to fix that is to just keep promoting the tip of the nose as being or one nostril is higher than the other and the tip of the nose leaning down. So this nostril is higher, this bit here is lower. And then this. And then we see the bulge of the lip. Just like that. So remember that top of the nose is really, really important. And if your angle isn't allowing that top part of the nose to be lit, you can also do a shadow version. Just like that. You see? And it'll still read because what you've done is, you're reinforcing the fact that the nose is a cube and the nose is in perspective. Just like this. As for the face, the eye should be hidden. You did hide it, which is really good. The face itself needs to be a little more, the contours are more visible, so they're the same thing if you were doing a 3/4 view from the side. You just have to remember that if this cheekbone is high, this cheekbone will have to be high as well. And then finally, this eye would be a little bit higher. Okay, so really, really quick changes, but I think they serve the purpose. So before, do you see how the lip was asymmetrical? It was kind of just leaning to one side. And then the nostril, this nostril was on the same level as this nostril. That's impossible if the face is leaning away. So then one nostril is going to be higher than the other. So don't forget to put everything in perspective. And sometimes there's a perspective lean in the way we draw something. Don't forget the top of the nose as well. Here is another version of how important it is. The nose, the reason why this is wrong is because, again, when we see the nose from the side, we're seeing the nose from the side, look how far out it is. This is just a very basic face that I'm drawing. Okay, that's far out, really, really out, so it's higher than the forehead. So if we're looking at this kind of perspective, if the nose is not as big as this person's nose, and this person's nose isn't even that big, we would actually see this nose hide way more than what you've hidden. We would see major areas hidden away. So write that back to me. What am I explaining here? What did I just explain? So you don't always have to make the nose super big. It's just about how far out it moves. Just make it move a little bit further out. Because it's hiding a lot. So before it was just a little bit modest, and you guys are afraid. You guys are really, really scared of stacking. Don't be so afraid. All right. Remember the perspective lines and how they change. So if there's a cube like this, and it's leaning, and we're seeing the bottom of it. So we're seeing the bottom of this cube, and it's leaning. Everything is going to lean. So if this cube is going to be carved into a face, these lines are going to eventually become circular. This will be a circular chin. There will be another minor cube on top of it, which is the largest cube it's going to have on its surface, which is the nose. There's eventually going to be areas carved out for the eye sockets. But if you guys remember the basics of the fact that wherever the cube in its largest structure moves, the sub-objects and the lines on top also move proportionately. They move in symmetry. So proportion is making sure that everything is the right size relative to each other. That's really what happens. Paste in place. Retransform. Yeah. Alright, so this is flattened. I'm going to close this down. And as for sketching it, just remember when you're sketching these images, just remember to sketch the cube. Really, that's what's important. You basically just want to draw this right here. In blue lines and a different layer, I don't care, whatever you have to do, just remember you're trying to think of the fact that the cube sits here. The cube, one cube in front of another cube is stacking, creating depth. The furthest eye in 3/4 view has compression, so it becomes a little thinner, but it doesn't change in other sizes. It only shrinks horizontally in extreme 3/4 view. And if you're doing a nose from the side, so you see this one right here, if you're doing a nose from the side and the nose is sticking out, some of you are so afraid. Some of you, okay, so you draw a 3/4 view and it's like extreme 3/4 view. Some of you, the nose should naturally go outside of the face, right? You know what some of you do? Oop. You can't just completely avoid the side of the face, creating this tangent. You don't want to do that. It's terrible. So you just don't be afraid. Just stack that motherfucker. Just put it. Just cover this whole line. Don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of your lines. It's just a line. It's not gonna bite you. It's just a line. It's a weak ass line. You can replace it. You're going to replace it with an edge. You're going to draw better. You're going to start rendering. You're not going to need to depend on this line forever. So don't be afraid of overlapping them. Alright? What I usually do with sketches is I draw the major shapes and then lower the opacity down. And after I lower the opacity down of this line, I become less afraid of stacking on top of it. And I throw other larger shapes. So what I mean is, I don't think I did that explanation justice. What I do is this. Okay, so I'll draw the shapes that'll help me, and then I'll lower that opacity way down, get a new layer, paint on the same layer, and stack that nose on top. Depending on how I want to draw the eyes, I don't know what I'm drawing. Elmer Fudd or something. Whatever. See how it's easy to stack on top of these lines. So when you're sketching, lower down that opacity. Okay, so that'll make you appreciate, make you remember to stack, make it easier for you to stack. I know stacking comes with a lot of anxiety. It's like, how do I just put one object in front of the other? It's because you haven't learned about rotation yet. You haven't learned that this object can be in front of this object, and this whole canvas is not a flat canvas, but it is an actual cube within which you are sculpting. Alright, you guys haven't kind of come to that level yet. As soon as you do, as soon as you start seeing that this is an open space and you can swim around in it and there's like little fish and birds and you can just draw whatever you want in here, then stacking won't be such a difficult thing. That, remembering your lines, stacking plus perspective, you'll never have trouble drawing a head in perspective ever again. So remember that. All of your lines here are visible. I see no underwire lines. I see no shapes to help you make sense of all the stacking required of you. So that's why the nose here is kind of a little weak. This one is kind of not sticking out as far as it should be. We're seeing the bottom of this chin, but not so much of this nose. So all of that applies today. Don't be afraid to stick this nose out all the way. Don't be afraid, because that's what's happening. The nose on the side view is a high altitude. It hides everything behind it. The nose is big. It's kind of like smells shit before you smell it, so it tells you to run away, you know? That's its function. It's like, dude, I know it's coming, and the brain's like, no, no, it's not. It's like, the skunk smell is coming, please run. And then it runs before it gets into your deep sinuses or whatever the fuck happens. All right. Okay. For me, features of the face have their own stories and personalities. I'm a bit schizophrenic like that. Like when I'm drawing a face, the eyes have their own tail, and they're like talking to the mouth, saying, "Oh, we're more important. We get more contrast." I don't know if you guys do that, but I definitely do that. I give everything a sort of like I narrate the things I draw as I draw them. Don't be a bitch ass coward. Slay that weak ass line. Is that a face butt? I wrote the word z-axis while working in my sketchbook like 20 times today. That's awesome. Remember kindergarten with the block, fish and birds, poor as dirt. But brushes don't make you good, only practice will. Yes, that's true. Like the nose tutorial. Make your dream come true. You're so bad, Max. If there is a theme that's mostly announced in the previous week's stream, yeah. Stab that motherfucker. Hampton and Loomis are the same, rules don't change. Burn Hogarth, honestly, is the best one. You guys should not be studying anyone else other than Burn Hogarth, alright? Burn Hogarth. Like burn, but with an E at the end. Burn Hogarth. He's the only guy that ever sketched with the cube there. He did so amazing. Where is his hand tutorials? Right here. Ugh, they're so beautiful. Look at that. He just keeps the cube there. Cube. He's the only one that's really done this. Right, cube, side of the cube, side of the cube. If you get anything from any art book, it's this right here. That he's drawing with thinking of the cube in mind. He actually draws the cube in there. His later work mostly. But I'm not really much of a fan of his finished work. There's just too much circle as well. I feel like he's choosing between either the cube or the circle instead of combining them both. But this piece is really awesome. Look at how he did that. Copy image. Copy link address. I'll just link that here. Whoa. View image. Mega link. That was like the stupid, like the Titan links just now. You see how he's seeing the bottom of the cube, how much more of it is visible? The more we see of this, the more we see of the nose. I mean, if we study anyone from back then, we see like a real lack in consistency. Like this, like, what the fuck is this? But this right here, this is where it's at. When I saw this as a kid, my whole life changed. Burn Hogarth, okay? Alright. Alright, so let's see. Do you think a sphere or an oval is better for a head base? I think a combination of sphere, oval, and cube is the best thing. You know, you might as well just use all three, because there is a spot to use all three. Some areas a sphere simply will not help you. A sphere will not help you draw a nose better. A cube will. Alright, so remember where to use the cube. Just look out for it. You'll see it. You'll pick up on it. It's specific to the kind of face you're looking at, so I can't give you one universal rule, but I know the nose almost always has a cube in it. Thanks everyone for watching. Have a great day. Good luck with your homework. Thank you for those who submitted homework today. I'm sorry about my mini rant, but you know, I hope it gave you a better idea of who I am personally. But yeah, have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.